spent my first 15 years trying to get out of the woods because I thought it was horrible. And I spent the next 20 years trying to get back. The truth of the matter is we need to be well-rounded individuals like our forefathers were.
But here we are, another beautiful Monday. Big T with Mountain Readiness coming at you from the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains here in North Carolina. And hopefully we can help you get rid of a little bit of your suck of the Monday blues. Today, I am joined by special guest, awesome guy, Mr. Charlie Williams with Pineland Resources. Charlie, thanks for stopping in, brother.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Looking forward to it.
Right on. So, guys, if you're not familiar with Charlie Williams, shame on you, because Charlie is you're like a living legend, Charlie. You know, you and Sue, you guys, like you literally wrote the book on tracking. Tell everybody a little bit of your background and how did Pineland Resources actually even transpire?
I spent 20 plus years in the military, and most of that was in Special Forces. We did a lot of various things within Special Forces. We did a lot of reconnaissance, special recon, and we actually had a chance to do some special recon and missions during Desert Storm, Desert Shield. That was a fun time. And
right,
I've done quite a bit of other things with being a scout sniper. Always trying to make sure that you're going out to do certain sniper missions. Obviously, you and your spotter, and you don't want to get found, so you learn how to do counter tracking, just in case they got somebody looking for you. And anytime that we operated with a Special Forces team, you always had that in the back of your mind about making sure that nobody was able to track you up, and you were looking for signs of the enemy's passing, so that you could either one, avoid them, or two, track them up and see where they're going and find out what they're doing and how many they are and all that, basic salute report stuff. But before I retired,
did you ever have somebody track you? I mean, have you ever been out tracking someone and then they're tracking you at the same time? Just the back and forth, the cat and mouse game.
Oh yeah. We've done that a lot in training, especially when you got other tracking teams out there just messing with you. And they'll try to throw some counter tracking techniques on you, and like walking backwards, things like that, and it only takes about 2 or 3 steps. You can look at that and say, yep, that's backwards, and then you move on to something else. But it's a grown up hide and seek.
So you did 20 years or in the military service and Special Forces. That was Green Beret, yes?
Yes.
In the Green Berets. And Scout Sniper. I did not realize that either. I didn't know you did the sniper thing as well. So did you and Sue serve together at all or no?
We were in the same timeline, but he was somewhere else when I was somewhere else. So we never worked together in that regard.
Right.
But we worked in some of the same places doing a lot of the same stuff.
Nice. Well, it's funny because you guys, your past, you've done a lot of the same in the same genre of things. Sniper, tracking, Green Berets. It just so I guess it goes with the territory. But so how did Pineland Resources come to fruition? How long has Pineland been around, Charlie?
Well, it's funny you should say that. The country of Pineland has been around since the inception of the Special Forces Qualification Course over 50 years. And Pineland itself is, you have basically North Carolina, South Carolina make up the country of Pineland. And North Carolina is occupied territory, for the training and Special Forces field exercise, what they call now to be Robin Sage. It's had several names up before that. Gobber Woods is one of them. It was actually that in the 60s when I first started playing around with these guys when I was a young child. But I named my company Pineland Resources because the fact that we're in the heart of Pineland. We're right here where all this training takes place. I've been involved with that training from a child civilian up and into being an actual Green Beret instructor. Retired, came back as a civilian contract instructor and everything. So I've got a lot of different avenues, I guess you would say, into being part of Robin Sage, the Special Forces Qualification Course, and Pineland altogether. I actually didn't get the company. We've had a Pineland search and rescue team. Pineland Resources has been a search and rescue team since the mid 90s. Me and my brother put it together, and we started getting a few people involved that helped me out and worked for me during guerrilla role plays, Op 4 role plays, and other retired SF guys like myself to be members of the Pineland Search and Rescue Team over the years. Some of the training that we do is man tracking, and we've been involved with search for missing people, children on up to old folks. But we've been doing that for over 35, 40 years. And one thing morphed into another. We were doing it, then we started looking and hey, this is some of the training that we've gotten. I think we can do it too, and I think we can do it better. So we started putting our own programs together for tracking as well as search and rescue training, things like that. I'm trying to make things better for the community and others around us.
Well, and so, a lot of people I don't think know. You didn't just serve in the military and do the tracking and sniper there. You for the past 30 years you've been employed with finding people that's wandered off, children, missing persons. Your phone blows up. I thought mine went off a lot. I mean, your phone is nonstop, and that's people contacting you, agencies contacting you because you do this for a living. It's not just a job. It's not just your hobby. It's not a school. You actually do this day in, day out for a living with Pineland Resources.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Our services are still volunteer, and we don't make any money on any deployments that we go on for searching and everything. We're a statewide resource deployable all across the state. Usually if there's a search they will notify the state emergency management office, which in turns they will send out an alert notification through their means of computer and email and text messaging and phone calls to let us know that there's a search and our service has been requested. And that can keep us very busy. We could actually deploy, if we weren't doing other things, we could actually deploy probably every week, at least once a week.
Wow. And that's all volunteer then, you're saying? That's
yes.
You just volunteer your time to help. You get contacted and you say, yeah, we can help you guys out.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not a very complicated call out procedure. They'll say that there's a search for a missing so-and-so person in this county. If you're able to roster a team together, contact this person at this phone number. And but that's pretty much the way it's happened over, I don't know, several years now.
Very cool. Very cool. Who's that? We got Eric Freeney says, watch that guy on the left. He's sketchy. Is it my left or is it your left, Eric? I'm not sure which side. I don't know who you're trying to call out here, man. That's messed up. I agree. That left. Yeah. Yeah, because both of us are a little sketchy at times. I'll admit that. But, man, we got some good people in here. We got Ray Michaels, Matt King, Sandra Davis, Griff. We've got Guy, Russ. What's going on, Russ? Larry Dial. Got all kinds of awesome people here in the audience with us. So, what would be the most intense track? The one that stands out above everything else that you can think of, Charlie? I mean, is there one that you were like, wow, that was unreal intense?
Well, I'll tell you, it's I've tracked all over the world. I've tracked in Africa. I've tracked in down in the Southwest, all over Texas, New Mexico, California, in Arizona, Nevada, places like that, and a lot of places overseas, Egypt, things like that. But there's no track, or I should say there's no land or ground harder to track than the eastern part of the United States, right here in North Carolina. Some of the hardest tracks and tracking you'll ever encounter. And it's mostly due to the fact that we got a lot of varying soil compositions, rocks and dirt and things like that. But the vegetation in itself, it can be very intense. Mm-hmm. We tracked a young college kid in Burke County up around the Brown Mountain Overlook, just north of Morganton, off of 181. And I can't remember the year. It's been several years back. But we were up doing a search exercise. We were out on search mission, a training mission. And at the time, Randy McKinney was the EM coordinator for Burke County. He told me to go to a grid coordinate, says transportation is going to pick you up and take you to a real search. That usually happened about every year that we went up there anyway, so we kind of look forward to it. And so we get there and we start tracking this guy, and I had probably about, 6 or 7 guys with me, a lot of them from Burke County SAR team and things, and I'm tracking, and I can see the tracks well down the trail and out in front of me, and it was kind of weird to the point that I'm tracking this guy through a housing development, and if he's really lost, then why didn't he knock on a door? I mean, that now
makes sense.
Now I'm starting to get into the guy's head and ask questions like, why are you not wanting help? And then the tracks, we never find places where he's stopped, slept, rest, or anything like that. we kept tracking him, and I tracked him up about 50 meters up a solid rock face of a mountain. And of course, the guys that were with me were, they were throwing the bullshit flag out and saying, "No, you're not seeing anything." And I says, "Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm seeing, there's some sand that had fell off the bottom."
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm Charlie Williams, the living legend, right?
He's wearing flip flops, the kind you'd wear in a shower, shorts and t-shirt. And anyway, we get to the top of this little rock mountain, and there's a little Waco, which is nothing more than a hole. It had some sand washed in it, and there was the perfect footprint right there from this guy. I said, "Well, see this guy? This proof right here. We're tracking the guy." And they were like, "I'm still not convinced," type. So we crossed this little stream. There's some mountain laurel there, and I mentioned this in my tracking classes when I teach and all. I says, you got to stand there and look. Okay, I've got tracks going across it, but how did he cross this? If I were going to cross it, how would I do it? And I was like, I'd put my hand right here to support my balance, and I would step across. So instead of me putting my hand there, I went around below downstream, crossed it in a different spot, and then came back up on the other side. And then I searched that tree limb in that mountain laurel really well, and I found a smudged, bloody fingerprint. And I told the guys, I said, "Hey, this dude's cut his little finger on his right hand." And they still didn't believe me. Well, we kept tracking this dude and come to find out he's evading us because he was embarrassed that he couldn't find his way back up to the parking lot. So he's evading us, and I jumped him like a gut shot deer like 3 or 4 times. And finally, we keep pushing him, and we push him out into the arms of a guy sitting there on a 4-wheeler, on the perimeter. And he puts hands on him and holds him, and we came in behind him, and I told him, hold your hands up like this. And I said, "How'd you cut your little finger?" He said, "On a briar." And that's when everybody on the team's like, "Holy shit, maybe this guy is seeing this stuff," But that was and this was mostly, we started late at night. I don't know what time it was. It was late, and we tracked all through the night and in the morning and through midday. It was about midday when we snagged him.
So we've got a few more people here. We got Seth Triplett. What's going on, brother? Just did a class with him a few weeks ago. I'm still tired and sore. That old age starting to set in. Let's see, Eric Freeman, Christy, the lovely Christy to Renee. Christy, just for you guys get your drinks out. I know you mentioned a drinking game every time that I rub my beard, so I'm gonna do this all night long and see you guys. Let me know how tore up you are at the end of this hour. That's just for you, Christy.
Let's do some double shots. I'll start doing it too.
That's it. It's a double shot if Charlie and I both do it. And Janet Carson, how are you doing, Janet? Thanks for joining us here tonight, this Monday. How often have you assisted? Well, first off, Matt King, he said, how many people have you rescued over the years? Can you even put a number on it?
No, I don't keep count.
Don't even keep count.
A lot of times it's not me putting hands on them and actually finds them. A lot of times it's me tracking them and giving a direction of travel and putting guys out in front and or pushing the person until he's out in somebody else's arms or whatever, And that's the thing about tracking. Trackers very rarely ever end up actually seeing or touching the subject that they're looking for.
Kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it, doesn't it?
No, to me,
still a good time.
Oh, it's still a good time, and the goal of looking for somebody that's missing is to put them back in the arms of whoever their family members, and I don't care who puts the hands on them as long as they get back,
As long as they get them. That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah. How often have you assisted law enforcement with tracking? Have you ever done anything with tracking criminals?
Yeah, I tracked I helped the sheriff here been a few years back now. We had a criminal that was evading capture. He was running back and forth across the Richmond County, Montgomery County line. And the sheriff called me up and said, "Hey, can you help us track this dude down?" I said, "Sure." I said, I just be honest with you. I'm not going in the woods without a weapon. He said, "Oh, that's no problem. Just tell me what caliber. I'll provide the bullets." And so that said everything I needed to know. And I really didn't get a good chance to start tracking. We did, but it was too quick. There was a lot of folks helping with that particular search, and we had agencies. We had the Highway Patrol with their helicopter, as well as boots on the ground. Actually, me and my brother, along with 2 Highway Patrol officers, made up the tracking team. And the 2 officers that went with us from Highway Patrol, they had gone through our tactical tracking class at Raleigh before, and they were called, and we built the team before we ever arrived at the command post staging area. But we had Montgomery County Sheriff's deputies, Richmond County Sheriff's Department, and it was very, very, very fast. He felt the pressure. He ran out of an abandoned home back in the woods and tried to hide in a pond. And he got up under a boat and he flipped it upside down so he could stick his head up there and breathe. And that didn't last too long, because helicopter saw him go in there, and he just hovered over the top of him and until everybody basically surrounded the pond on all the way around it. We're on one side and he's basically closer to the other shore, and well, they got him out. And it was kind of funny to watch, but it was a good successful mission.
Well, yeah, you got the bad guy. That's the main thing, right?
Yeah, he got
overseas. Do you have any good tracking stuff that happened over there? I mean, because were you actually was that part of what you did with the Army? Was tracking part of what you were doing?
It was, but it wasn't the actual mission. It always encompassed with, as a implied task for any type of mission that we were on, whether it was mounted or dismounted. When we were doing our special recon missions on the border during Desert Shield, which later became Desert Storm, we patrolled the border all night long under nods, and with our Saudi Arabian Special Forces counterparts. And that we would stop periodically just to see what kind of either foot traffic or vehicle traffic was coming across the border in certain places, because you just couldn't cross them berms in any spot. They had special places that they would do, so we would go check them out, things like that. But we as far as an actual tracking mission, no, we didn't do that. That was just something I did, as a implied task for everything else that we did.
It was just part of it. Make sure. Overseas, did you have anybody ever track you down? I mean, did you guys ever have? Is it one of those you had to double back? They're doubling back around on you. I mean, was that something that happened, or is that just movie stuff half the time?
Well, we didn't. We did it in training, but it's never happened, as an actual mission or anything like that. But we always practice doing stuff like that, and I do it a lot, especially when I'm doing the evasion tracking piece with the guys, and I'll come back around and get on their backtrack, and I'll walk right up behind them. There's times I've gotten within 6 feet of them, and they not see me. because they're
Nice.
expecting me to be out in front when actually I'm standing right behind them, and it kind of gives them the woolly a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. We did a little bit of it was just a few hours of tracking, basic intro tracking here a couple weeks ago. Seth and I did with Joe, and once you see it and it's in your mind, but like walking backwards and stuff like that, the little bitty details of that toe print and things like that makes the whole. If you don't know what you're looking at, then you never know. It's just knowing that push, that learning the push off of the toe, walking backwards. Something. It was interesting, and I'm looking forward to hopefully at Fallout that I can actually take one of your classes, because usually it's just in passing, like, oh, there's Charlie at his class. All right, go clean toilets.
Yeah.
But
that'd be fun.
Those little fine details.
Yeah, there's a lot that we can do, in that little arena where we work at down there. That's you can't ask for a better place for showing different. I call it a spore pit of various tracks and things that happen, and being able to look at that and interpret what's going on. It's whenever we're teaching a class, we just finished one in Marion with my buddy Mike Hull with Hull Tracking Services. Did a tactical tracking class there for level 1, and we've had, the day we did the spore pit out there, we were showing them all this different. We would put down something and then have them, turn around and look at it and try to figure out what happened, what took place here. And every time from that period on, every time we would take them out on a track, and I would, if me and one other guy laid the track, we would lay the track down, and then we would sit down and wait for them to find us. And when they would find us, I would stand up and say, all right, now look at where I was laying at. Notice what this looks like. Okay. Because if you're tracking someone and you see this, now you know that the person was laying there in this particular way. And he's also looking at his backtrack. So that tells you that the guy is watching his backtrack to see if anybody is tracking him up. So he's got a little bit of security.
Charlie coming up on your 6.
That's right. You never know.
You never know. So, and Christy, look here, Christy. When I do this and then I just kind of hold my beard, that means chug. You just keep chugging until I let go of my beard. That's a chug it, is what that is. So go refill that up. We'll try it. We'll try it a couple times. And there's Miss Emily, beautiful Emily, Casting Crafts. Emily, thanks for joining us. Maybe you're here for the whole duration. You're probably stuck at work, though, because you're a workaholic. Much respect for that. So let's see here. Charlie, what equipment do you keep on you everywhere you go? What's your EDC, Charlie?
Well, I try to keep it simple. When I was younger, I'd carry everything, including the kitchen sink, but I'm too old to be carrying everything now. I'll throw all that on the 4-wheeler and ride it and let it carry everything. But I like to have, at a minimum, a basically 24-hour survival. And I've got a little chest rig that I carry. It's got, signal mirror. I have a whistle. I've got a compass with a grid reader. Also have fire starters, and I did say that plural.
Right.
And including matches and a cigarette lighter. But
you're telling me you don't go out there with just a bow drill? That's all?
No, I'm too lazy, man. I kind of like doing things the easy way, I've done
Why
it.
make it any harder than it already is?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that to them younger guys. They can sit there and drill and rub and do all kind of stuff with that. I kind of like to have fire when I want fire, and not sit there and work too hard at it. So, but
It's like we got Ashboro in the house. Let's see. Eric Johnson, hey yo, from the Ashboro boys.
well, I
Want
declare.
to take it? That's some peeps that you know there, Charlie.
Yeah, there's some decent folks right there. Yeah.
Some decent trouble. Then trouble if you know them, they've got to be trouble.
There ain't nothing wrong with trouble, especially when you got double trouble.
Exactly. So, guys, I'm gonna throw a couple things out here. Where's all my banners? There they are. So, of course, coming up in October, Fallout, 18th through the 20th, Van Hoy Family Campground. Get your tickets; they're cheap. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a whole lot of classes that are going to be out there. It's going to be beautiful weather, of course. And if you're not from North Carolina, October and November, that's where it's at in North Carolina. Perfect weather, great for campfires, great for drinking games, just for Christy and Guy. I'll sit there by the campfire and rub my beard for you guys all night long, as long as you can handle it. So make sure to join us for Fallout this October. And then speaking of survival gear, our good friend Brian over at Survival Gear BSO, I show a couple of his kits. Anything from your GTFO, I got to hit the road, hit the door running, no time. Right here, a little bitty kit. The get down the road beat shoe leather kit, all the way up to the more 72-hour pack right there. These things are jam-packed full of awesomeness, guys. You guys want, if you just don't know what to get for your kit, whether it be a day pack, a 2-day pack, a 3-day pack, check out Survival Gear BSO, www.survivalgear.us. Brian actually puts all this stuff together. He tests all the gear, which I think is really awesome. And takes a lot of the work out of it. You can call Brian anytime. Those guys are on the phone. If you leave a message, even if he doesn't answer, he call you right back. Guy is a workaholic as well and does a great job putting together these kits all by hand, all by his loan. So it's him and Michael. So check out Survival Gear BSO. Also, everybody knows we're Harvest Right affiliates. Do you have a freeze dryer, Charlie?
I do. I used to make my own jerky and stuff with that. So.
Man, I'll tell you what. Check these out. So my lovely wife, Amber, I'll be going to another class this following weekend, and she didn't want me to go off of my diet, and so she made these are little MREs, right? Mylar bags. They're little MREs. And all freeze dried. These things, unlike a regular MRE, full of sodium, preservatives, all kinds of bad stuff. You eat it for a week, you have a stroke. Of course, freeze dried food, it's just food, or you don't have to put any additives in it. These are actually meatloaf, locally sourced beef, potatoes from the garden, corn from the garden, all this right here in this bag. 25-year shelf life. Freaking insane. That thing is set on a shelf for 25 years. I've actually ate a few of these, and heating these things up, it tastes just like you just cooked it up. It's amazing. What I think is cool, check this out. There is 28 meals in this thing, right? Take a guess what 28 meals weighs. Take a guess, Charlie.
2.8 pounds.
What's that?
2.8 pounds.
Well, I wish. We're not that good. 8 pounds. 8 pounds, 28 meals.
That's what I said. About 2 to 8 pounds. Yeah.
2 to 8. Oh, 2 to 8. Exactly. Man, that's amazing. It amazes me. I mean, that's almost if I eat one meal a day, I could just about make it a month right there on 8 pounds of food. So,
yeah,
big thanks to Amber.
I carry the freeze dried meals in my pack. Along with a water filter pump. And, especially working in, North Carolina, you're going to come across a water source sooner or later. It might be a stagnant pond or a little stream or whatever, but you're going to come across some water. And every time I do, I usually top off my canteens. I use my canteens to fill my Camelback up. And, but that freeze-dried, dehydrated foods, you can't go wrong there. It won't go bad on you.
Wow.
I've got some Lurps, long-range recon patrol meals. They're freeze-dried meals dated 1968 that I've had for years, and I'll eat one every year. For
just to rotate it and use it, right?
No, I just eat it because I'm needing to have something to eat because I'm out on a mission or something, on a search or whatever. So right. I keep that and some other freeze-dried foods, Mountain House, things like that in the truck all the time. So,
oh man, I've been packing these around. I got rid of the regular military MREs because one, they're twice the weight as the freeze-dried ones, and they're full of crap. And so, yeah, I mean, if you got to stay alive, it's cool. It'll keep you alive for a while. But this here, I mean, it's a full meal. It's a full home cooked meal. And we did like the breakfast garbage plates. You got the scrambled eggs, gravy, potatoes, peppers. And man, I made one of those the other day. It tastes like it just come out of the skillet. Mind blowing. So definitely a game changer. If any of y'all are in the market for a freeze dryer, make sure to check in the comments bio. We have a Harvest Right affiliate. You can save you quite a substantial amount of money. And of course, you help out us here at Mountain Readiness as well. No reflection on the price except for the positive for you. But it is a game changer. I don't talk about anything of gear or anything of that nature unless I actually use it, and could not be happier with our Harvest Right. These things are insane. And so, yeah, Matt King, how long does it take to rehydrate one of those? So that little bag right there, I pop that dude open, add about a half a cup of hot water. In 10 minutes, I'm chowing. Tastes like it's straight out of the skillet. Crazy. And then Seth, we actually we had some eggs. They were munching on those actual military MREs. I was like, nah, I'll pass. I brought have you had freeze-dried eggs? The freeze-dried scrambled eggs?
Oh yeah.
Man, I can't tell the difference. They're a little bit different in color because they're so mixed up so well. But I can't tell the difference in them. They taste, it tastes just like we just made them. Yeah,
they to me, it seems like they're a little bit darker yellow, and but their taste and everything is the same.
Taste, yeah. Consistency. I know a full dozen of eggs in the Mylar package. It weighs like 8 ounces, like 7.5, 7.8, something like that, depending on how big the eggs. And you can take a 1 quart jar, a mason jar, and you can fit a whole dozen eggs in there, and then fill it up the rest of the way with water, and then shake it up, and boom, you got yourself a dozen eggs ready to scramble within 10 minutes. Mind blowing. This technology just blows my mind, especially stuff like that. To me, that is that's the ultimate in survival traveling food right there. Super lightweight, lasts forever. And did you know we're going to be making? Have you heard of pemmican? Have you heard of pemmican, Charlie?
I don't believe I have.
We are going to be making pemmican. Maureen Diaz will be at Mountain Readiness. She's going to be demonstrating how to make pemmican, which is like super survival food. Our ancestors, they would make pemmican and take it with them on long trips because the shelf life it lasts for months just wrapped up. And what it is it's ground up meat with fat, and then they throw a little berries in it and like a little bitty brick, 3,500 calories. This here is a full meal, for basically 3,500 calories, your entire day's calories in a little bitty bar. So I'm pretty excited about it. Have you ever made it? Because I have not.
I've never made it. I've eaten it before, but it's been a long time. But I got something. My buddy Mike gave me one of these mason jar sealers that's got this battery operated. You know, you just mash the button, let it suck the air out for like 40 seconds. Then you hit the off button and it'll pop. It'll seal that thing up.
Yeah.
And I played with it yesterday, and I went and got half-gallon mason jars and some quart mason jars, and I started canning stuff like pecan halves and oatmeal and grits and things like that. Dry goods, you know, putting them in these jars to, one, I can put them on the shelf and not worry about any kind of critter biting, you know, chewing through the glass or anything. They ain't going to do that.
Well, if they can, watch out for that bug.
Yeah. Well, if that ever happens, I'll assure you that you'll probably hear about it on the news, because something's fixing to happen down there in that basement.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wouldn't be surprised in this world. No, Amber just bought one of those too. I can't remember the name, but those are awesome. We freeze dried 80 pounds of strawberries, and when I say we, I mean Amber freeze dried 80 pounds of strawberries, and of course, 80 pounds of strawberries actually equates to about 15 pounds of strawberries after they're freeze dried. But we put a bunch of them in the mason jars, and she got that little lid sealer as well. Man, that thing's awesome. You just pop it right on there, hit the button, and boom, sucks all the air out and slaps the cap down and seals it.
Yeah, it does real good job. I was impressed with it. So now I told the wife I got to go get more jars and start stocking up on the you know, the flour, the sugar, the things like that. You know, so.
Have you seen the gamma lids for the buckets, the 5-gallon buckets?
Oh yeah, the kind that you screw on.
Yeah. We talked about that a couple times, but we have flour and sugar that's been in buckets now for 6 years, and it's all still good. We take flour, sugar, rice, all that stuff. We throw it in the freezer for a couple weeks. You're only supposed to be able to do it for 2 days, but we throw them in there for a couple weeks, and then take it out of the freezer, put it in the bucket, and it kills off anything inside. You know, because you get the little bugs and stuff in the flour. But if you do that, you throw it in the freezer, no problems. We have zero issues. We're using the flour right now, 6 years old, been in a bucket. So that's all we did. Throw it in the freezer and stick it right in the bucket and smack a lid on it and throw it in the corner. So little knowledge. Last thing you want to do is open up your bucket when you're hungry and a bunch of bugs be in it. So
that's protein. So I mean, you gotta.
I've been told that
roast them, man. Roast them.
That's extra protein. Nothing wrong with a little extra protein. We actually ate some bugs. We ate some bugs here a couple of weeks ago. Had some protein. Everybody ate the bugs too. Nobody was scared. I don't remember what it was. Some larvae of some sort. I don't even remember what it was. Well, let's see. It was slacking. Come on now. Come on. Look, it's chug time. There we go. Just keep on keeping on. Don't even come up for air. We got Homestead Medical in the house. Homestead Medical is going to be at Fallout, guys. They're going to be teaching wound care and advanced wound care and the equipment that you need to perform these tasks. How's your medical? I'm sure you've got some decent medical training under your belt, don't you, Charlie?
A little bit. Before I went into the Army, I was an EMT and worked on the rescue squad. That's where I started doing a lot of stuff with the public and everything. And then, you know, while in the military, I had a chance to become a medic, and I told them, nah, I've had enough medic stuff. I want to blow up stuff. So became an engineer, blew up stuff.
Blow stuff up.
Yeah.
I can attest, blowing stuff up is fun. Most of the time. Most of the time it's fun. Sometimes it's not so fun. Depends on what you blow up.
Well, blowing up a truck motor in your truck is not fun, but blowing up a truck motor in somebody else's truck, now that could be fun. Yeah.
That's real fun right there.
Yes. Yes, sir.
That is it. Russ says that crickets are fine as long as you pull the legs off. Not tried crickets. What's the worst
Hey,
thing you've ever ate?
just
What's
add
the
more
worst thing you
alcohol.
ever ate? Huh?
Just add more alcohol, man. Let's see. What's the worst thing I ever ate? Yeah. Well, it probably had to be pork brains. I'm not a big pork brain eater.
Yeah. I can't
always thought
say that I could. How does that even come about?
Well, my dad would when we raised hogs, we'd always kill one or two a year, and put up the meat, and we'd salt cure ham and things like that, and I would cook off in a big pot and cook off the cracklings and make lard and put the lard in the lard stands and things like that. Make homemade sausage and stuff, and Daddy would always make sure that we got the pork brains back, and Mama would scramble eggs with pork brains, and he would eat it. And to me, it looked like it would be pretty cool. And I'd try anything, and I tried it, and I just passed. But it has to. It's one of them, you got to acquire a taste for it,
That's acquired.
I had to be acquiring several alcoholic beverages in order to eat more of it. So
growing up, he's ate earthworms and pork. I've had earthworms. They're a little, that's also an acquired taste.
Just don't chew them.
Just swallow it on down.
Yeah.
We,
wash it back.
Being a poor folk in the, living in the Boot Hill of Missouri, we were invited down by a neighbor. When I say a neighbor, they were probably 10 miles away through the woods, but those Missouri hillbillies, he said, come down. We made some stew, squirrel stew. And so we went down and we were just starving. Everybody's like, oh, how'd you live for all those years in the woods with no electricity, no running water? We just starved. We were just really good at starving. That's what it come down to. So we went down and the guy was cooking squirrel but it was like hamburger. It was like little hamburger, like meatballs all in it. And I'm scarfing it down. It was probably the best. I was starving too, and come to find out, I was like, what kind of hamburger, what did you put in here along with the squirrel? He's like, no, that's squirrel brains. And I didn't even know that was a thing, like squirrel brain stew. How many squirrels does it take to make squirrel brain stew? That's a lot of squirrel brains. They ain't that big.
No, they ain't that big, but we used to take and make squirrel stew. We put the whole squirrel in there, and it would have, it looked like a rat at the end of the day. We'd leave the tail on it and everything, except we'd, skin it, obviously, just bone and everything.
Yeah.
And we'd have, 5 or 6 squirrels, in this big old pot of stuff, and whenever we'd get the special forces students to come in, we'd dip them out, and it was always make sure that they got the head. Each one of them got a head, because that was we were giving them the best that we had,
Right.
And
right.
Seeing some of them boys from the city looking at that head, looking back at them, that was priceless, man. I'm gonna tell you. But they need it.
Looking it dead in the eye.
Yeah.
So you're going to be teaching at Mountain Readiness, and again, and we appreciate it. And let's see here, Sandra, Homestead Medical does have a website. Chuck, you want to throw your website up in the comments so people can get in touch with you, man? And of course, Sandra, they'll be there at Mountain Readiness as well. I think you're going to be coming down to visit us in October too. So, but Homestead Defensive Tracking. How can tracking help us? Because I've got 40 acres here, and whether you have a quarter acre or 100 acres, people trespass, people wander in, they invade your territory, and in the shit hit the fan scenario, probably be a whole lot more prevalent. So what are some of the things that people can do as far as tracking to fortify their, as far as a defensive measure with tracking?
Well, you need to have a good boundary that you can, walk, ride, or whatever, in order to check and see if anybody's crossed that boundary. Just here on my place, I've got a boundary road that's on me. It's right near the property line, but I can take like an old tractor tire, hook it behind the ATV, drag it up and down the road a little bit to clear everything off, especially after the fall leaves have fallen on it, just to get all the leaves off. And then it also loosens up the dirt a little bit too, so that when you go back and do a patrol up and down that road, you can see if someone's walked across or walked back across. And if you find where they've walked across onto you, then you'll need to be able to track them up and see what is it they're doing. It could be that they're just walking across over there to see, oh, I didn't know this was over here, turn around and walk back. Or they might be over there up to no good. All right. And that's what the intent is for you as a tracker, to be able to track them up and to determine what it is that they're doing. So if you come up to a spot and you see what we call dwell time, they've been standing there, sitting there, whatever, for a long period of time. You see cigarette butts where they've been sitting there smoking a lot of cigarettes. Well, that tells me that they're sitting there doing an observation on you. So they might be trying to figure out your routines, see what you've got that's available, that they might be able to, take what's yours or something to that effect. And that's just one thing that you're looking at.
Right.
You can also track critters doing the same way. If you got deer or hogs or whatever coming across your property, you can see that too and know where to go set up a snare trap or even go shoot one.
Well, yeah. No, and that's, so, multi-purpose as far as, and tracking is one of these things that, it's just a dying art. Nobody really does this anymore. And I'm just now getting in, this past year, been getting into the tracking thing and starting to read some stuff on tracking. And it's one of those, skills that have just been, washed away through the years because we don't have the need. We don't need to track a deer now. We just go to Wally World and pick up our food in a prepackaged container. So what do you need tracking for, right? Except for that, the bills that's coming out of grocery store these days. We're gonna have to start getting back to that.
Yep. You think about the guys that work on the border patrol down along the southern border, tracking all the illegal aliens coming across the border and the coyotes and all the drug traffickers and things like that. It also, we've done some missions down there on the border years past, back in the late 80s and early 90s, but there's tracks down there that was probably put down 6 months ago that's still visible, unless it, because of the lack of rain or whatever.
Right.
Those guys are pretty good to be able to age tracks. And that's something that, determine, okay, this track was laid down 2 weeks ago. This track was laid down last night. And we need to follow it up, do a follow up on that track line to see where it's going. Because usually at the other end, there's probably an illegal or some drugs that they brought in. And that's something that we found not on our property here, but on some of our hunting property that's part of the hunt club. Guys were coming in and planting marijuana, growing it for the cartel. And
oh, wow.
And then it was, turned over to the local law enforcement and they dealt with it, So
right. Yeah, that's something that was really common in Missouri was meth labs, and even here in Blue Ridge, anywhere you have secluded areas and old abandoned buildings or anything like that. The meth labs and stuff like that were really big. And that, those guys, when you start messing with their money, that is, they'll kill you over that in a quickness. So it's, yeah. And there's been some pretty big, I know just Iredell County, there's been some very large busts right there, the county just over from us here in Wilkes. Have you assisted with any of that kind of stuff with like drug related tracking, stuff like that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that when my brother was still on the sheriff's department years back, and this would have been like 85, 86, 87 time frame, and they would do what they call eradication flies, with the airplane and helicopter and looking for marijuana grows. And they asked me if I would go along because I was I was special forces engineer, and wanting me to go in ahead of all of those guys on the marijuana patches to check to make sure that they didn't have it booby trapped, with trip wires of something that might harm us and them. So
right.
I'd go in and clear it, and then we'd chop it down and haul it out. So
you had the tough job then. Go in, make sure that there was nothing there. You don't get blown up or leg impaled by punji stakes or whatever else that was possibly laying there waiting for you.
Yeah, but at the time I was in my mid-20s, and that was bulletproof and everything. It's like, I want to do that. Let's go do
10 foot tall and bulletproof.
There you go. Yeah.
Now that is awesome.
Not so much. Awesome.
Yeah, we are looking forward to the classes there at Fallout. So, guys, remember, we will have Charlie there with Sue. Sue and Charlie will be there doing these classes, and they're going to teach you how to. Is the correct terminology set up like a spore trap? That's a correct terminology, right?
Well, we call it a track trap.
Okay. All right.
And we'll show you how to set up a track trap and catch all that stuff, people trying to walk across your property and onto your property and things like that.
Right. Maybe up to your window. If you see tracks up to your window, chances are they're up to no good. Just to throw that out there. That's the discerning. That one there is done deal. Yeah, that guy probably is up to no good. So
you can catch him. Maybe you can charge him money for all the stuff he was watching you do. So
maybe he got some good video. Be like, hey, look, we'll split it up. Little OnlyFans action.
There you go.
I actually had a good friend of mine. I won't say his name because of the criminal repercussions, but he lived in a very large city, and it was not a very good place that he lived in. And he refuses to. He still lives there. He's crazy. The guy. He's got his whole backyard is all fenced in, and he raises quail. He's got chickens. He's got a full garden right in the dead middle of a huge city, Omaha, Nebraska, right downtown. And he's always in court with the city. They tell him, you can't have animals within city limits. And he always wins. But back in his single days, he had people, breaking into him and two of his friends had their own little house together. And they kept having break-ins. So these guys man-trapped the entire house. They got into a bunch of trouble when somebody went to crawl through the window, and they stepped on one of those flip boards with the nails all in it, whipped around, punched holes all through the guy's shin. And, that's where that all ended. But yeah, they had zero issues setting up a perimeter defense around their house until the law showed up. Oh yeah, we forgot our video for and I've been running my mouth. Yep, Troy's Gate training, eating army. We'll play that video next time. Christy, thanks for reminding me. So, of course, 18th through the 20th is going to be the Fallout, and then 21st, 22nd over at Troy's Gate. You're going to swing in there on Monday, aren't you? Yeah, all of our instructors going to go over and check this stuff out who haven't seen it, and then it's on me. Russ, he does not have a spot in Angery Land yet because I still did not go through all the camping like I told Charlie I would earlier or last week, I think it was. But it will happen because Charlie doesn't want to sleep at night. He wants to stay up all night partying, doing drinking games, and listening to loud music and campfires because that's what it's about over there.
Yeah, I want to stay down there. I want to hang out with my Air Force buddies down there, you know.
Hanging out with Air Force buddies. The difference is nothing really, Justin. It's just a little smaller. It's Fallout is like more of a hangout, primitive skills, leather, tanning, and tracking, all this. More campfires and socializing. We still have a lot of classes. It's just instead of 42 instructors and 70 classes a day, we're more like 25 instructors and 40 classes a day is what it comes out to. So a little bit more smaller, family-based campfires. I think we're going to do some hot dogs and marshmallows and stuff one night, hang out, tell stories, play music around the campfire, sing Kumbaya, whatever it may be. We'll figure it out. But that's the difference. That's the difference is what it is. So, well, guys, we're at the top of the hour, and glad all of you had the time to jump over here and say hey. Charlie, of course, always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you, and looking forward to having you there. Of course, if you want to contact Charlie about any of his classes, Pineland Resources has a website as well, correct? It's there's no website.
Not yet.
Zero. Now, Pineland is on Facebook, though. I know that for sure. So if you want to jump over there and follow Pineland, you can see a whole bunch of the classes. But if you're interested in taking classes or interested in getting information on upcoming classes, this is how they get in touch with you, correct, Charlie?
That'll work right there. Yes, sir.
That right there, guys. So, as always, let's see who we got here. Down, Night All, stopping in to say hi. Internet problems. I understand. It's probably those commies. They're hacking into something, Will. But guys, look, until next time, if you're going to move with purpose. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next Monday. Thanks, Charlie.
Anytime, brother.